Tiana's Bayou adventure has debuted and opened to the public at Magic Kingdom. In this episode, I'm going to be giving my somewhat spoiler-free review of the ride, while also sharing some top tips to experience it, as it is a very popular attraction. Welcome to episode 130 of the Vacation Kingdoms podcast, your ultimate guide to planning your perfect Walt Disney World vacation. Whether you're a first timer to Disney or a seasoned visitor looking for new adventures, this podcast is your go-to destination for all things Walt Disney World. My name is Connor Brown, and as a former Walt Disney World cast member, current Orlando local, and a seasoned travel agent specializing in Disney vacations, I'm excited to share all of my expertise with you. If you are a new listener here, welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Feel free to go back and check out all of our old podcasts covering a wide variety of Walt Disney World related topics. And of course, you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts and on Spotify so that you never miss a future episode. If you're a longtime listener, welcome back. Thanks again for tuning in. If you continue to enjoy the show, please consider sharing it with someone you think might enjoy it as well. That would mean a lot to me if you could do that. So listen, it's an historic day. It's an important day because Walt Disney World's newest attraction is officially open. That's right, Tiana's Bayou adventure has debuted and opened to the public at Magic Kingdom. In this episode, I'm going to be giving my somewhat spoiler-free review of the ride, and I'll also be telling you how to experience this ride, while also sharing some top tips to experience it, as it is a very popular attraction. Before we get started, first things first, let's pour one out for the attraction that was originally in this location. Let's pour one out for the homies. Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain was originally in this location where Tiana's Bayou Adventure now sits. Splash Mountain, it actually originally debuted out in California at the Disneyland Park in 1989, and then 3 years later, its sister version made its way to the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World and opened in 1992. Those two attractions, they're quite similar. They have some differences, some small differences, some big differences. Like in the Disneyland version, you sit single file as opposed to two per row. That's different. That makes it a bit more unique, but the storyline, those sorts of things kind of remained the same and very, very, very similar, if not identical. The attraction Splash Mountain was based on scenes from a long ago Disney film called Song of the South. In 2020, Disney announced that Splash Mountain would be closing in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, and it would be replaced with a new attraction based on the Disney film Princess and the Frog. Now, this might have been a controversial decision to some, the right decision to others, regardless of what side of the fence you are on. Maybe you're not even on either side of the fence. You just like new attractions. Regardless of all of that, the fact is we have a new attraction. We have one right now. It's not going back to anything. It's going forward as Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And here's a spoiler. It's a new attraction that I really, really enjoyed. I loved being able to ride it before it opened to the entire public. But I'm very, very excited to be able to ride it for years to come, to take new people on it, to experience it. It's really, really well done. So I'll give kind of a synopsis of it, and then we'll kind of transition to how you can ride this attraction, how you can experience it on your next trip to the Magic Kingdom. So first things first, it's not a 100% new attraction because it uses the bones, the structure, the pathway that Splash Mountain had already been built and used for decades. It's more of a re-theme, but it is kind of beyond that re-theme in the sense that, yes, the log flume is exactly the same, right? What remains from Splash Mountain? The log flume is identical. They're using the same log flume, the same ride vehicle that they're using. The track, so turn for turn, the drop is exactly the same. The drops, I should say. The ride sort of system is very the same. The big drop is the same. What's new beyond that? Everything else Truly, everything else beyond those major things, beyond the ride vehicle, the track, turn for turn track, the drop, it's all new. The queue, the line is very different, and it starts to tell that story immediately when you get into line, which I think is great. The animatronics are all fresh, new, and fantastic. The sets and set design is lively, vibrant colors. When you look at the mountain, it's very different as well. Before you get on the ride and you're just watching people go down the hill. Prior to this, when it was Splash Mountain, it was more like the clay hills of Georgia, so kind of that red clay sort of thing. Now it's the swamps of Louisiana. Very, very different, but you can see there's more flowers, there's more plants. As you're going in the log flume around the big drop, it's much more like a bayou versus a briar patch, which is what the theme was when it was Splash Mountain. That's very cool. So that's why I say it, it is a new attraction and it isn't, right? Because the path is the same. We're familiar with the drop, those sorts of things. It's much more like a Frozen Ever After that replaced Maelstrom, if you remember that. Same sort of track. Everything else completely different. The bones are the same, but the story is different. Very much different from a Guardians of the Galaxy that took over the Energy Pavilion. The ride in there was totally different. It was slow moving. It was long. It wasn't a fast paced roller coaster. So they kind of used the infrastructure a little bit in Guardians versus this. They really used the bones for it. They redid the outside. They reskinned it, to use a weird term, and added in a totally, totally new storyline. So that's really, really cool. And speaking of storylines, storyline for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it's a bit tough to follow at times, but here's my synopsis for you. And this is the spoiler free as it can be. So the attraction itself takes place a couple years, I think actually 2 years, or maybe 1 year after the film ends. So it's pretty immediate after the film ends. Not a whole lot of time has passed, but enough time for Tiana to see a lot of success. If you remember at the end of The Princess and the Frog, which, if you haven't watched that film, highly encourage you to watch it before you go on this ride. You don't have to, it's not a prerequisite. It's just a really good film. And it will give you some backstory that will help you on this attraction. So the attraction takes place, about a year after the film ends. And Tiana's restaurant, Tiana's Palace, has been so successful that she's turned herself into a budding entrepreneur beyond just the restaurant scene. And she's expanded her business by purchasing an old salt mine, which that's the new mountain. It's not the red clay hills of Georgia. It's this old salt mine, which is a bit of a stretch if you ask me. But that old salt mine has been turned into Tiana's Foods. And that's what you're working through as you're going through the line. Here at Tiana's Food, she grows vegetables and produces food while employing many local residents. It's the American dream, ain't it? Start from nothing, work your way up, all that fun stuff. So the new attraction starts to take place, I guess you could say, in Tiana's Foods, which is in this salt mine. And then the premise is such: as you're going through Tiana's Foods in the queue, you realize, oh, it's Mardi Gras season. A huge Louisiana, New Orleans tradition, right? And of course, The Princess and the Frog, that's where it takes place, in New Orleans. And yes, I will be pronouncing it New Orleans going forward. It's all one word, New Orleans. I've never been there, but New Orleans looks great. It's Mardi Gras season. Tiana wants to throw a party for her employees, her friends, her family, and the local community. And this is not just a Mardi Gras celebration, but it's a way to thank them for supporting her with the success that she's achieved with her business. So it's a thank you and it's a Mardi Gras celebration. The party planning, it's going great. Almost everything has been taken care of except for one very important thing. Louis, the trumpet playing alligator from the film, he forgot his assignment. He was given something to do for the party and he completely forgot it. His role was to find a band to play at the party. And that's what you're doing on this ride. You're finding the secret ingredient for the party. The secret ingredient is the band. It's music. Uh, you got all that? That's the premise. That's the storyline. If you're not paying attention in the queue, if you're not paying attention to the first couple of scenes when you're on the ride, you won't know that. Really, it does go kind of quick. If you're talking to someone on the ride, like, oh, look at that, and you miss a beat, you miss one of the animatronics saying something, then you kind of miss a lot of storyline. So I really wanted to give you that as kind of background for it. When you're walking through the queue, when you're walking through that, you're going to see Tiana's Foods headquarters. You're going to see some of the gardens where they grow food. You're going to see Tiana's office, her test kitchen. It's all very well themed, as well themed as really almost any Disney queue, which they're really good at theming that. When you're going through this queue, I encourage you to keep an eye out for a chalkboard where there's a list of to-do, party to-dos listed down. Everything on that list is checked off except for the band, right? So that plays into that storyline. That's a cool little, it's kind of hidden. You just got to keep your eyes out for it. So you'll walk past all those scenes, and then you'll board your log flume and you'll set off down the bayou. The interesting thing is you're kind of going around the salt mine as you're in your log flume, but then you're also going into the bayou at times, which is interesting. When you first come into the log flume, you go up a small little hill, and it puts you out right at kind of the base of the big drop. You don't go down the drop immediately, of course, but there you can already start to hear the music. Princess and the Frog, a very, very music forward film. You see flowers and plants around the track. It makes you feel very immersed. It's very peaceful in those first few scenes as you're going on this ride, which I think is really cool. And it's something that Splash didn't have a whole lot of, but this is very much, there's a lot of flowers, a lot of plants. I think a lot of people are gonna like that. Um, as you go throughout the ride, you start to invite musicians to come play at the party. And the fun thing, of course, is all the musicians are animals. Just like Lewis, the alligator who plays the trumpet, all of these animals play other instruments and they're invited to become part of the band. They all have names. So the Critter Band, each one of them has different names and they have different backstories as well. I love that because it's going beyond the film and it's creating characters just for this particular attraction, which is really, really cool. At one point in the ride, Mama Odie, the kind of the voodoo witch doctor or whatever it is, she's what did you call it? Swamp magic. That's what she is. She uses her swamp magic to shrink you down to the size of a frog. And then you ask some frogs to join the band as well. In this scene where the frogs are playing drums and other instruments, when you invite them to be part of the band, I will say you meet a true icon, an absolute legend. His name is Mondo, the bongo playing Froggo. I added Froggo because I thought it rhymed, but he's a true legend. You can't miss him. He's jamming away on the bongos. He's gigantic. He's awesome. So that's kind of the premise. You need to find the band. You start inviting critters to come play at the party. You shrink down to a frog. You re-shrink into a human being. Blah, 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 all that stuff. And then, of course, in the end, you make it to the party. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. That's the storyline, but what do I like about Tiana's Bayou Adventure? Let me say I was a huge fan of Splash Mountain, even not really knowing the characters outside of Splash Mountain, I just loved that attraction. I would often say if it weren't for the chance to get absolutely soaked on Splash Mountain, I would ride that ride every single time I was in the Magic Kingdom. I truly would. So for me, Splash going away was all right. I get it. I understand. It's time for something new. I was a little bit approach it with some trepidation, knowing it's got to live up to what I enjoyed for it. And what I like about it is that Tiana's incorporates so much new technology, new storylines, but it's still somewhat true to the original attraction that was there. Splash Mountain, the emphasis, huge emphasis on music, right? Zippity doo dah. I'm not going to sing anymore, but it was familiar music. This puts an equal emphasis on music, if not even more. There's familiar music that you recognize from the film, and there's also newly created music and scores for the attraction in particular. One other thing that's kind of old is new is the original Splash Mountain in Disneyland. When it opened, it actually repurposed a lot of old animatronics from a show called America Sings. That was a show in Disneyland. They used those animatronics when that show closed, repurposed them, and put them in Splash Mountain when it debuted back in 1989. What I love about Tiana's is that it seems like what they could have done is just reused a lot of those animatronics from Splash Mountain and repurposed them, reconfigured them into Tiana's. I think they've done some of that, but it seems like many, if not all, of the animatronics are totally new, versus maybe just being reskinned. If they are repurposed, then the Imagineers have done an exceptional job because they look brand new, not just from their skin, right? From the characters that are a part of them, but from their mechanics, the way they move, the way they interact, those things. And then there are, of course, some brand new animatronics of Tiana, of Lewis the alligator, of Mama Odie. These are brand new, built from the ground up. Incredible technology, really cool animatronics. But those secondary animatronics seem really new as well, which I appreciate. They also add in some good special effects and also screens that enhance the ride. They don't take away from them. A lot of the times on attractions that use a lot of screens, and Tiana's doesn't use a lot of screens. I think it uses screens in the right places, but a lot of times in a heavy screen-based attraction, it can take away from the actual ride experience because you're kind of immersed in something and then you see a screen and it takes you out of it. With this, it doesn't really do that. The screens only enhance things, they don't necessarily take away from things, which I think is great. Um, there's some awesome smells in this ride. Beignets, the smell of beignets is great at the end. Keep a lookout for it. And one thing that I loved about Splash Mountain that this still has because it uses the same ride track is ROI. ROI of a ride is a big thing I talk about a lot. ROI meaning return on your investment. If it's going to be a long wait, what are you getting in return? On something like Peter Pan, which lasts just a couple of minutes, but you're waiting 90 minutes, that for me is not great ROI. But on something like a Jungle Cruise, a Kilimanjaro Safaris, a Haunted Mansion, those are long attractions. This is the same. It's almost a 10-minute ride. That's a lot of ride time. That's great ROI on an attraction. I also love that it's family friendly, but with some thrill, right? I believe it's 40 inches. You have to be 40 inches tall to ride. So not for the young kids for sure. But I think a big issue at Disney currently is the huge emphasis on princesses. Disney has always been princess forward, of course, no doubt about that. When you have a family that's made up of a lot of young boys or predominantly boys, or even just a couple of boys, right? I think when a little boy hears, oh, it's a princess and the frog thing, oh, that's for my little sister, or that's not for me. I don't want to go on that. But then when you take them and they see the big drop, that might entice them in, right? I think they'll love it from the start. It is devoid of a princess nature, really. Um, but I think that really appeals to the whole family versus just being a princess ride or just being a boy centric ride, right? It kind of appeals to everyone, which I think is really awesome. Golden Oak, which is a little quick service, not even quick service. It's a little snack wagon, I guess you could say, a snack window. Um, they have some new Tiana food as well, Tiana themed food. So Golden Oak is, if you're looking straight on at Tiana's Bayou Adventure, to the left, you can see it just down a little bit of a ways. They have some things like shrimp gumbo with sweet potato fries and hot honey chicken with sweet potato fries, kind of served in a bowl. It was approximately 10,000 degrees when I was there last, so I did not try those. What I did try that Golden Oak also has is Tiana's beignets. These were quite good. I've had the beignets a few times in Disneyland in New Orleans Square. Um, I've had the beignets before at Port Orleans, uh, a hotel here at Walt Disney World. Those ones at Port Orleans, they're fine. They're okay. The Disneyland ones are great. These ones at Tiana's, or I'm sorry, at Golden Oak, Tiana's beignets are real good. I enjoyed them. They had a honey drizzle on them, of course, with copious amounts of powdered sugar. That was great. The Critter Co-op is a merchandise location that is kind of before you get to the entrance of the ride. So you can go in beforehand, you can go in after. There's also an exit through the gift shop that's very small, that splash hat as well. But the Critter Co-op has a ton of Tiana merchandise, has special food in there, Mama Odie's hot sauce that you can buy there, amongst other food items. There's also mobile checkout here, which I highly, highly recommend, especially in a popular store, in a small store like the Critter Co-op. What you do for mobile checkout is you attach your credit card to the My Disney Experience account in the My Disney Experience app that you've downloaded to your smartphone before you've gotten to the park. You have to have that downloaded. Um, you'll look up the store in the app, you'll look up Critter Co-op, and then you'll use mobile checkout. It'll be right there on the Critter Co-op page in the app. You'll click mobile checkout, and then what it'll prompt you to do is actually take a picture of the barcode of whatever you're purchasing. It'll add it to your mobile cart. You'll click purchase. It'll charge your card on file. Then you'll walk to the exit where you see mobile checkout exit. It gives you a QR code once you've hit purchased. There'll be a cast member right there that will scan the QR code for you. If you need a bag or wrapped or a present wrapped or whatever, they'll do that for you. But you don't have to wait in a line for them to ring up everything for you to then pay. Of course, if you're going to pay with cash or something else like that, you're going to have to go through the regular line. But this is something that saves a lot of time. I use it all the time. It's great. So that's all the new stuff that has come because of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. How are you going to ride this ride? Here's my tips section for this. Currently, as of this podcast recording early July of 2024, there are two ways to experience Tiana's Bayou Adventure in the Magic Kingdom. Both ways require you to have the My Disney Experience app downloaded to your smartphone and have your party linked to you. So make sure you have that app downloaded and everything is all linked together. The first way to experience this attraction is by joining the virtual queue. Here's how you do that. In My Disney Experience, you're going to click the three lines, the three horizontal line icon in the bottom right of the app. You're going to scroll to where it says virtual queues. You're going to click join virtual queue and select Tiana's. From there, you can click edit my party to select the right people to add to your group. And at exactly 7 a.m., click join virtual queue and see what boarding group you get. This, of course, all has to be done prior to 7 a.m., right? You want to make sure your party is all squared away, accounted for. Do that around 6:58, right? To make sure it's all good. Keep the app open, keeps refreshing, those sorts of things. At exactly 7 a.m., you're going to click the button that says refresh. Once 7 a.m. hits, the button will no longer say refresh. It'll say join virtual queue. You're going to click it again to join the actual virtual queue, and you're going to see what boarding group you get. Again, this happens all within a matter of seconds. at 7 a.m. on the day you're going into Magic Kingdom. Okay? So a little bit before, say 6:58, you're going to log into My Disney Experience on the app. You're going to make sure your party is all right in the virtual queue section. You're going to keep refreshing, keep hitting that button that says refresh, refresh, refresh. You're going to click join virtual queue. A top tip I have here is have the world clock open on another device to see when you're getting close to 7. When it hits 7 on the world clock, click refresh. The button should refresh to join virtual queue, and then you're going to click it right then and there. So a top tip is knowing when you're getting close to 7 a.m. to the top of the hour. Even with this, it's still a gamble, right? Even if though it's just a matter of seconds, you still might not get a virtual queue. It might fill up before your finger hits that button. It sucks. But once the park opens to everyone, boarding groups will start to get called. When your boarding group does get called, if you did get a boarding group, you have an hour to check in. Make sure push notifications are on for the My Disney Experience app because it'll push you a notification on your device saying your boarding group has been called. When your boarding group has been called, again, you'll have an hour window to go over to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. When you get there, you'll see signs for virtual queue. You'll scan your tickets again in whatever capacity your tickets are in at the virtual queue line to get in. The one thing with this is it's not a cut the line. It is simply a virtual queue for the opportunity to then go wait in line. There still might be a bit of a wait for this. It could be 10 minutes, but it could also be 45 minutes depending upon the time of day. Now, maybe you didn't get a boarding group at 7 a.m. You do have a second opportunity to get one at 1 p.m. The only requirement for this one is you have to have scanned into Magic Kingdom to be eligible to try and join the 1 p.m. virtual queue. So keep that in mind. If you miss out on the 7 a.m. one, you have to have already scanned into Magic Kingdom by the time 1 o'clock rolls around to try again for the 1 o'clock virtual queue drop. There's a lot there, I know, but that is the quote unquote free way to try to ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The other way currently is to get it through Genie Plus, soon to be, as of July 24th, to get it through Lightning Lane Multipass. So from now until July 24th, you can attempt to get a Lightning Lane through Genie Plus for Tianas. To do this, make sure you have purchased Genie Plus through the My Disney Experience app prior to 7 a.m. on the day you are attempting to ride Tianas. This can only be purchased on the day of, meaning Genie Plus can only be purchased on the day of, not prior to that. Then at 7 a.m. in Genie Plus, you're going to select Tiana's as your first Lightning Lane selection. If you get it, a time will be assigned to you and you'll arrive at Tiana's within that time frame. It's an hour window, just like the virtual queue as well. So the similarities are you're still getting up at 7. You want to have Genie Plus purchased before it. You're making your first selection at 7. It's not going to be at 7. Your Lightning Lane is going to be for when the park is open. You're still attempting to get it at 7 a.m. like you attempt to get the virtual queue at 7 a.m. as well. It'll be an early morning, but I promise you, whatever option you go with, it's worth it. The ride is really, really awesome. You're going to arrive at Tiana's during your time frame if you go the Genie Plus Lightning Lane route. You're going to go to the Lightning Lane entrance, scan your tickets, and then you'll likely only wait about, 15 minutes, maybe less, to board the ride. That option works right now. Starting July 24th, Genie Plus is going away. It's going bye-bye, and it's being replaced with Lightning Lane Multipass. This service, Lightning Lane Multipass, it'll still be an extra cost service to use. I'll have a full show on what Lightning Lane Multipass is, how to use it, strategies around it, but for now, just know It's a way to reserve lightning lanes for rides prior to the start of your vacation. So with Genie Plus, you have to wake up that day and you can only purchase Genie Plus for that day. You can't purchase it in advance. Lightning Lane Multipass will allow you to select Lightning Lane reservations up to 7 days prior to your arrival check-in date at your Walt Disney World Resort Hotel. If you're staying at a Walt Disney World Resort Hotel, 7 days prior. If you're not staying at a Walt Disney World owned and operated hotel, you can attempt to get something 3 days in advance with Lightning Lane Multipass. I know that's a little bit confusing, but just know right now, until July 24th, it's Genie Plus. And then after July 24th, it's Lightning Lane Multipass, which you can book up to 7 days in advance. For that, you're still going to wake up at 7 a.m. You're just going to wake up at 7 a.m. from the comfort of your own bed, wherever your bed may be. You're going to wake up then, and then you can purchase Lightning Lane Multipass for the length of your trip. And you can also make Lightning Lane Multipass selections for the length of your trip. So you can kind of knock it out in one morning, the entire stay of your trip. But your priority for Magic Kingdom, if you want to ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure, is to make it your first selection on Lightning Lane Multipass. There's more to it, okay? But when your day comes to start making those reservations, that's all you want to focus on, making sure that Tiana's is your first priority, selecting it for your Magic Kingdom day. Listen, all of that might be confusing. So if you have any questions, if you have a trip coming up in the next couple of weeks, or even beyond that, and you're just unsure of how to ride this ride, shoot me an email, Connor, CONOR, at vacationkingdoms.com, and I will gladly answer any questions that you have. No problem. No problem at all. Listen, I know that both of these options aren't ideal, right? Neither of them is guaranteed that you'll be able to ride it. But we are dealt that hand, and that is the hand we have to deal with. These are the best ways to go about it. These are the strategies to go about it. If you follow my tips, if you're ready and up and at 'em before 7 a.m. to try to select it, that's going to give you the best chance to get something that isn't, unfortunately, guaranteed. How long will the virtual queue be in place? Who knows? If you hear anything, it's all speculation. Guardians of the Galaxy still has a virtual queue 2 years, more than 2 years after it opened. So for now, these are your options. These are your options. Virtual queue from now until July 24th, Genie Plus. After July 24th, Lightning Lane Multipass and virtual queue. Even though Tiana's has the same ride layout, the new elements are still working out some kinks. So all those new animatronics, all those new special effects I talked about, they're still working some stuff out. And that means that there has been a lot of downtime for this ride. So you could have a virtual queue, and it could take hours, really hours, before your boarding group gets called because the ride has been down. So the other tip I have is to pack your patience. You'll get on it, okay? Just stick to it, and I hope you get to experience this attraction when you go to Magic Kingdom the next time. There you go. I really did enjoy Tiana's. I'm excited to experience it more times, many more times in years to come. I know I'll be experiencing it with friends who haven't done it yet, with family that haven't done it yet in the coming months. So I enjoyed it. One fun thing that Walt Disney World has right now that Disneyland does not. Disneyland's version of Tiana's Bayou Adventure is not open yet. So if you want to experience this attraction, Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, it's the only place to do it. The only place to experience this attraction currently in the world. And that's pretty awesome. Well, there you have it. My review and my top tips for riding Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the newest attraction in Walt Disney World. Listen, if you've enjoyed today's episode and you're on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment letting me know you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel. For those peeps listening to the audio version of the podcast, if you're listening on Apple, please be sure to subscribe and rate and review the show on there. I'll be sure to read future reviews on the show. Seriously, please just take 2 minutes out of your day to rate and review the show. I love seeing them. It's what keeps me going when I see those awesome reviews, and it also helps new people discover the show as well. If you listen on Spotify, give us a 5-star review, and please click the follow button on the show page, as that will help us out. If you like the show, be sure to share it with someone you know who might be planning a Walt Disney World vacation, or if you think someone might be interested in the show, share it with them. And if you are ready to book a vacation to Walt Disney World, if you're ready to ride Tianas and you want to book a trip all around Tianas, I would love to help with that as the Director of Agent Development and a travel advisor with Keys to the Castle Travel. I'll help you find the best deals, answer any questions you have, like the complexities around virtual queue. I'll be an advocate for you, and I'm going to be someone you can turn to for advice. The best part is me helping you with booking of the trip. It's absolutely free. Doesn't cost you a dime for me to help you book it. Reach out to me at Connor, CONOR, at vacationkingdoms.com, and I can help you book a trip. And of course, if there is ever anything I could ever do to help you, I am more than happy to try and do so. Even if you just want to reach out and say hi, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you as well. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Vacation Kingdoms podcast. I've been Connor Brown, and until next time, keep LTD, living the dream, and I'll see you real soon.